Hey everyone! Today we're going to work on making a flurry soap. Real excited about this one. You'll see the colors being put and all of the ingredients that I'm using pretty much put up on the screen. I'm excited about this one because I'm going to be sharing a unique technique that I use with you and sharing it for free. This is one of those that I feel could possibly put in a paid gatekeeping thing, but I'm not going to. I'm trying really hard to avoid that and give you all of the information I can so you can improve your designs and techniques and try some of the same things that I do. I feel like it can be kind of a game changer. It's I'm not sure how to describe this. It's there's a couple of different ways to do it, and this is one way. It's just a way to work with really delicate embeds, and one of the keys to it, I will say, and you'll see me show it in a little bit. One of the most important things is that you're using the clearest soap you can get, whatever that is, depending on where you live and what brand you use. Choose the clearest soap. And also, because it is reliant on a clear look, you want to make sure that both the soap base in the clear part that you're using and the part for the technique are both the same. So I do use, gosh, I know that's not going to make much sense. I do use the clearest soap I have, Premium Crystal Clear from Wholesale Supplies Plus, Crafter's Choice. Not affiliated. I am affiliated with Med Micas, and you'll find my affiliate link in my description box. If you purchase from them, I will receive a small percentage at no additional cost to you. But back to Wholesale Supplies Plus and the Premium Crystal Clear, the Crafter's Choice soap. Real quick note on what you just saw me pour. That wasn't the Premium Crystal Clear, as you'll see right here. Basic Clear is what I used in the bottom layer. And I did that for a reason. I'm still hoarding my clear, even though this is such a small amount, my Crystal Clear, because the company is still it's still out of stock and difficult to find, and super expensive when you do find it because it's not from the company that makes it, the manufacturer. When you buy it from the manufacturer, Crafter's Choice, Wholesale Supplies Plus, you can get better deals for sure. But I do have some that I'm working with for my Christmas designs, and I am being very cautious with how I use it. So even in a very tiny pour like this, which I guess equals about 3 ounces, maybe a little bit more, there's probably a shade over an ounce in each of those cups when I first poured that in, because it was a little less than half. Those cups hold approximately 3.4 ounces, and excuse me. And that, so it was about a third, maybe a little bit more, like I said. So probably a little bit more than 3 ounces for all of that for the bottom. And then I didn't use every single drop. You see me putting the names of the micas, etc. up. Most of the micas, the matte micas I used are mostly the more solid color ones there on the bottom. But I did use Blue Moon, which is a spectacular mica if you have not tried it. It kind of is one of those that's a specialty. It's used best when it's put over something dark. It's interference mica. So it's white-ish. It's kind of translucent. And then when it's over something dark, it shimmers a bluish purple. very pearlescent bluish purple. It's gorgeous. Anyway, the only reason I'm bringing that up is because some of these other colorants I'm using are more bio glitters, and they're from a variety of places. You see, I put the names up there, and I'll put the links in my description. What I'm creating now, the bottom, I'm just created a sky. I'm creating my background. This is a loaf, but it is not done. I'm not using it in a traditional manner of making a loaf soap that when you cut it, the front is going to be your picture and the top is just a little decoration. With this one, you're looking at the top. Even though that's the bottom layer of it, you'll see through to the bottom. I'm creating a picture from the bottom up. When I do that, I fill it about between a third and a half, not quite a half, somewhere in there. Because I want my bars hefty. I do make pretty hefty bars with those. And I cut them, for the most part, I cut them into 3s. I have done soaps where I cut them into 4s when it's a different type of design. But this one is one of my more intricate soaps, and I want a little bit of room to play, so I cut them into 3rds. And as you'll see as I build, this is another technique that I use that I'm not sure other people do. I know I've seen other people using this technique with a swirl, where you're just kind of slowly layering on top of another color and allowing it to kind of mix a little, layer a little bit, swirl together. If you can kind of picture it this way, I'm doing that with all clear because I want to add layers, but I don't, in this particular type, I don't want to let it set up completely within each one. And you'd think, okay, well, you're going to see all kinds of stuff. You can sometimes get a little bit of a skin showing. 9 out of 10 times you won't. And if you can always remove a little bit of skin if you like. I didn't in this one unless I saw it pouring out of the cup, which I think I did when I was pouring one of the embeds, which is what I'm creating the soap for now. I'm using all those eco glitters and specialty micas like the Blue Moon to create a fairly pigmented, just like the bottom was very pigmented. And it doesn't go through the whole soap, but it's gonna, it's gonna be a little blue. It's not gonna make your bubbles blue. Well, maybe a little bit, but not much. It's fairly, it's usable. Let's put it that way. So I'm just creating embeds here, and super important to this technique is that you do want enough colorant or eco glitter or soap safe eco glitter or specialty micas or just sparkly micas, whatever you're using. You want there to be enough to make enough of a difference for the design elements at the bottom there. You want a little more soap. Well, obviously you'll get more soap in those because they go deeper, but you want that to be able to stand out once it has set up. And one of the ways to do that is to use, it's really not incredibly pigmented with these glitters. It really isn't, but maybe a little bit more than you normally might. And it worked exactly the way I wanted. That's not really the technique that I'm teaching you. That's just kind of a side note on these. You'll see I come back with a different technique on some of them. This is the main one, the 2 little bitty ones that I'm pouring now. This is the main one I'm focusing on as far as a technique goes. The ones in the larger pink snowflakes, I'm just making a very thin layer in there so that when I pull it out, it's still kind of flexible, but it's a thin image. It's a thin image of that design on the front, and that's all it is because I'm not using it as a whole soap. I imagine you could get the same effect by slicing off the front, but that I'm not so great with. I'm good with a knife with stuff like this and carving, but cutting a straight line I'm not so great at, which is why I prefer using Uncle Andy's to cutting my own soap shapes, which I do end up having to do, cut my own soap bars with my double-handled cheese knife. That's basically what you're looking at doing when you do the type of soap I'm doing in the bottom of a loaf like this. So all I'm doing here, I'm removing anything that is not down in the little embed soaps. These are really tiny, ridiculously delicate soap shapes. Now, I have done these with a not thinned out, but a very heavily pigmented white using my titanium dioxide dispersed in glycerin, which makes it a little bit more flexible. And when you use the molds like that, the little tiny ones, these you see me pulling out. That's not really anything that exceptional. I did end up kind of messing up some of the edges of a couple of little pieces of Snowflake, that one, because I couldn't see that it was not getting to the front. And that's part of it, is where the camera has to be to catch what you're doing and keep my big head out of the way. So occasionally I sacrifice not seeing for you being able to see. And they're still usable though, and you'll see that in a little while. But look, the image is there, and all I had was clear soap and a little bio glitter, or the specialty mica, the inference, any of the interference micas. I don't know why I always want to call them inference micas, because I read it wrong the first time I looked at that. But back to the little guys. You want to, when I use it with the white, the titanium, and the glycerin, it makes them a little flexible, makes them easier to come out. But you're still going to lose probably half of those. Maybe not, but on a good day, you might get more than half. But you're going to lose those because they don't come out easily. Some of them, I just, in using them the first many times, I just was resigned to that, and I made extra and used all the ones that were usable. And some of them look fine as a half snowflake, depending on what you're doing, because you can always have it coming kind of in from the side of the image. So that is helpful, but some of them just don't make it at all. And this is a slightly different way to do the same thing. I did not scrape off as much with the stick with this one, because I was afraid it was cooling too fast. I should have had it a little hotter. And if it starts cooling, then you're going to develop enough of a skin to just pull the whole thing out. But the important part is what you see me doing now. You want to clean off any color on the rest of the mold, any on the silicone part of the mold that isn't the design. You want to clean it off. I just sprayed it with alcohol and used a damp paper towel, very lightly damp paper towel, to wipe off any excess. And you don't want to push so hard that you dislodge the snowflakes. And here is the trick. And this is being poured, gosh, do I show it? Sometimes I don't notice where the camera is when I'm taking the temperature. I'm pretty sure it's being poured about 130, which is why you'll also see me spray quickly with alcohol. We're not trying to melt anything. Probably between 127 and 130. You want it to adhere well to the soaps, the little bits of soap that are in those embed molds. So it's got to be hot enough to stick it. We want it above your melting point, but you don't want it so hot that you see the color coming up out of the mold. You don't want to melt it beyond just being able to melt those first few molecules. So it will stick well. So that's the start of, you'll see how it looks. You'll see the results. You probably already get what I'm doing, but I'm doing the same idea in these images here, just on a larger scale, because the detail on these goes so deep. It would be a really thick snowflake, and parts of it would be too opaque for what I want. That's why I did that with the glitter and then the clear. And here we go. This takes a little minute to undo. but it is so cool. I was so excited how well it worked for this because I've never used it with this mold in particular. And then, okay, you're might be thinking here, now what? So you have a big sheet of snowflakes. You're going to cut around each one of them, each detail. Yes and no. You'll see when I get to the cutting portion of it, and more importantly, you'll see when I get to embedding them what the result is. But this is why it's so important to make sure that there's nothing else on that silicone mold, because that clear is there. It's going to stay there for the most part, and you can get away with that if you're careful and your clear matches. So that clear that I poured on the back already had fragrance in it. It's the way it's going to be when I pour the layers of clear that I'm layering, kind of a fluid layer, I guess is what I like to call it. I use it with my Galaxy soaps. If you go back to my mini Galaxies, I use it in my koi pond soaps. I've used it in a bunch, and I know I've filmed at least a few of those within my Embed soaps where I'm pouring layers, and I continue to pour layers. I pour some, put an embed, pour more, put another embed, and you're kind of doing it as it's setting up, but you don't really let anything set up fully. Yeah, I was really excited about that. I sit here and just look at them for a while because I was so excited with how well they came out. You get if you're careful with it, and obviously I waited longer than what you see here. I waited till they were fully set up. If you're careful with it, you can get every single detail of those intricate little molds. Now you could just take that and embed the whole thing in some particular mold so that you have like a full image of that if you wanted to. But that's not what I do, and that's not what I did the first time I kind of used this technique. There's another part of it I'll save for another video because it's kind of more about getting a look like that in an actual stand-up loaf soap. But I love the way that piece came out. I'm going to be making more of those for other things. I don't know. It just was so pretty. The way the mold is designed, you get a real 3D look if you just put a small amount in that has some type of mica and then clear over that, because it dips down just in such a way that makes it look gradient. It kind of creates its own gradient. You want to make sure that the mica swirls around it before you pour when you pour the first color, so it's at least touching every bit of the design, of the front of the design. And then as it's cooling, most of it's going to pool into the more intricate details of the soap, and that's why it gives you kind of a gradient look on that and then you pour the clear, and it's just kind of a natural gradient. You see I'm chopping these up. Don't yell at me. It hurt a little bit to cut them up, but I knew what I was going to be doing with them. So this gold one here, you see I'm cutting it a little offset. That was on purpose. I don't cut them all in perfectly in half, because the image you're going to see, I'm looking for a flurry of snowflakes kind of floating around in the air, and I also add an element of kind of some snowflakes flurrying around in a little bit of a breeze. You'll see that in a bit too, but that's one of the reasons you don't need to get upset if all of the snowflakes don't come out perfectly, because you see me chopping them there in half, and I do that with a few of the tiny ones too. It's because it's obviously it's a little better with the big ones, because you don't you can't put a bunch of big ones. You can. It's just going to be quite busy, and you will be covering up your lovely sky background that you created with the 3 different colors, or 2. It works really well with 2. I just wanted to try 3 this time. I've done that same sky background with just the Key West blue and the twilight blue. And it's gorgeous, but I really wanted to add spacewalk in this time. And I'm glad I did. It turned out really nice. It's kind of like an after dusk kind of look for me. A little bit of light coming from beyond the horizon, but it's not like a sunset or anything. It could even just be like lights from the city kind of like lightening up the sky in the background, the horizon portion of it. But anyway, so here you see me I'm just cutting them out. I'm not cutting out the full shape. I'm just getting them removed from the little kind of sheet of them, I guess is what you'd call it, a little sheet of snowflakes. I'm getting out the ones I want for right now. The others, I promise, will be used. I already have designs on doing more, and that's one of the nice things about doing this. It's a little tedious, yeah, scraping it, cleaning it, making sure there's no mica on the silicone, etc. But typically, you're going to get more than one. I guess it depends on how many snowflakes you want. But it usually, like for this, I'm not using that many. I don't even think I used half of what I made. Pretty sure I could probably do at least 2 more loaf soaps with what I have. And maybe more if I'm not using all just snowflakes. Don't forget the snowflakes can go in a picture of a lot of other things. I just wanted to feature those snowflakes this time. Because I was in the mood for it. And I have so many pretty little snowflake designs. I kind of wanted to highlight that. So here we go. This is what you see how the cut ones look. They're partially in the picture and partially out of the frame of the picture. And that's why that works. And that's why you never want to throw away a snowflake embed because it isn't perfect. If you can cut part of it and use part of it, it creates a great look. Like I said, if I used all big ones, it would, and nothing off to the side, it would be kind of awkward. In as far as the design elements go, you want it to be able to go off the side of the picture in a soap like this. At least I do. That's the way I design things. I want it to look like I took a snapshot, and you wouldn't see. Well, I guess, I don't know, maybe a cropped snapshot. You wouldn't see everything unless you're using a panoramic view. This is not a panoramic view. So what I'm doing here, I'm just putting them in on the next layer of clear. By the way, that first layer of clear I poured, look at this one. When I spray that, you cannot see the clear soap because you're putting it in clear soap. And as long as they match, and as long as there's, not a lot of bubbles or not a lot of strange colorants that don't match what you have, even if it's not the same soap I use, it just needs to match. The clearer, the better, of course. It's going to hide those. It's going to hide those little raw edges. Even I cut them with a knife. I wasn't careful. I didn't bevel it. I didn't do anything special. It hides it. Clear on clear. Most of the time can be really forgiving. And like you see me pouring here, that other layer isn't set. I'm pouring on top of another skin of clear soap. You can kind of see it move there out of the way. And as long as you're not creating additional bubbles in that or pulling it and really kind of creating a big mess, it's going to be a very clear look, or can be. I love that effect of putting those down in that clear, and then those sides, the edges just disappear and it becomes just a snowflake. And I absolutely love that look. So that's my fluid pour, or my fluid layering, and also using those embeds with, I'll say, a clear assist to get them out. And I'll show you the other use for that down the road. Here is my little image of a breeze or of the wind taking those flurries in kind of a breeze pattern. All I did is add environmental glitter, bio-glitter, to a small amount of clear and just tiniest little bit of drizzle in there. I didn't pour it really hot. The first, I started to say this and I interrupted myself because of what you were seeing on the screen. The first layer of clear that I poured, before I laid down the first big snowflakes. That was hot. It was really hot when I poured it, like 145 for my type of soap. It's pretty hot because I wanted it to stick. And you hopefully saw me kind of swirl it around a little bit. All you have to do is make sure the soap makes contact with that, and you do it quickly so it's not melting anything, and you pour very little. If you pour very little like that, you're not going to melt your sky. I sprayed it immediately after. I even sprayed it before, I'm pretty sure. Spraying alcohol, rubbing alcohol helps your soap to move. So if you're trying to get it to move to all edges of the image or of your mold, spraying helps. It may not, do everything for you. You have to have enough soap in there too, and it has to be warm enough to move. But it helps it to thin that layer out and smooth it across, because a thin layer is not going to melt your stuff. It's not going to melt your embeds. It's not going to melt anything. If I was able to place those first embeds right away, because it cooled so quickly. You saw me take that thermometer, and by the time I put the embeds in, it said 118 or something like that. It was quite low, and that was there was no time in between there. I didn't wait around. What you saw was what you saw. I didn't edit anything out. It's a little faster. I do these a little bit sped up from what I do because I'm a slow worker. I'm a slow mover. If I try to hurry, I'll just mess things up. So I don't. I do things at my pace. The only time I hurry is if I know that I have to, because something's going to set up on me. Then you'll see me move. Now, on occasion with these, you might see the clear edges. It happens. But there are ways around it. One thing you want to make sure is that you don't, that's one of the reasons I'll spray before I put it down. It wouldn't hurt if you're concerned about it to spray the back of each embed. Will help avoid bubbles. But typically you're not going to get bubbles unless you're setting it down on a skin where the skin has already started to build up. So be aware of that. I did that with one snowflake this time, and I fixed it pretty easily. All I did is go back. I don't know if I show me doing it. I took one of the little sticks I have that had a little tiny bit of BioGlitter on it, like just left from what I had putting into the cup that I used. And I just lightly tapped it over that area of the snowflake, and it instantly masked it all. Just a little bit of tiniest bit of glitter. And you can't see the edge. You might be able to see it in the close-ups, but as looking at the soap, unless you're going like under a microscope or something or really enlarging it, you're not going to see it. And then you'd probably have to even know what you were looking for. So I was so thrilled. I looked at this for I don't know how long before I was able to cut it, because I was so excited with how it turned out. A lot of times I like my soaps. I like the designs I come up with. You hear me sometimes criticize myself because I'm either trying to get better at something or the design didn't turn out the way I wanted. Doesn't mean I don't like the soap. I just get disappointed sometimes when you're, looking for a certain design type and it doesn't work out the way you want. It can be a little frustrating. I always get over it. But with this one, this is what I pictured. This is exactly what I wanted it to be. Now, my cuts weren't exactly what I wanted them to be, but I honestly think with a soap that comes out this pretty, I don't think it matters that much. It's confirmation to anyone purchasing this or receiving it as a gift that it's handmade. It's not pumped out by a machine. It's not, there's no paper design under it. This is completely handmade. And I really was thrilled with them. But yeah, my cuts. I think I show you at one point how crooked one of them was, because I was like, oh, great. But yeah, it's not going to bother anybody. If it doesn't bother me, it's likely not to bother anybody else, because I'm bothered by a lot of things because I'm a perfectionist with my own work. Usually not with other people's, but with my own stuff, I'm really hard on myself. There I show you. It's just kind of leaning to one side on both edges. So I think one bar came out perfectly straight. The rest are like, eh. But you really don't see it unless you're looking for it, unless you're looking at the sides and looking for how perfectly straight. Because from the front and the top I guess it really is just the front. From the front of the soap, it looks just fine. So, and then I always bevel soaps like this. I don't bevel every soap, but to me, a soap like this, it really brings out the design. It looks like glass. It looks like some kind of glass artwork or something like that. It just enhances that look, or crystal. Sometimes it does. I kind of wrecked a little bit on the back of that one. Didn't bevel it quite so well. Something to remember, I do want to get. I've seen some really cool little beveling tools that I may look into getting, but this is what I have for now. And I will say, I mean, obviously it's sped up here, but I take my time placing, and as long as I kind of pull fast, and like I said, that's hard for me, but I take a little more time placing it, and then pull quickly. The pulling quickly really does help, and not pushing. You don't want to push into it, because that's what I did on the back of that one, and it just made it a little. Oh, Mr. Soap and Such gives it a thumbs up and says hi, everybody. He was real excited about this design too. We both were pretty thrilled. Came out very nice. And again, I'm super excited when something comes out the way I wanted it. Yeah, that's the way it's intended to go, so that the bottom is a little lighter. You could do it whatever way you want. Honestly, you could turn it whatever direction you want, because it's still going to look like a pretty sky. I think I took a couple pictures of them upside down just to see what they looked like. I don't know. I might have put one in here. I'm not sure. So if you got anything out of this, if you liked these, if you liked the design, if you liked the techniques that I've shown you for this, I think they're really exciting and open people up to a lot of possibilities with embeds. Please give me a like, give the video a like, subscribe if you aren't. I'm so grateful for you joining me and giving me the really nice positive feedback I've had on these tutorials. I'm really grateful for you. I'm up to 1,500 subscribers, and I'm just thrilled. If you are so inclined, I'm now also available for super thanks, which is paying, and I don't even know how much, what they cost, but there's little animated things you can put in comments, and you can highlight the comments, etc., and I receive a portion of that. I'm not going to keep touting that to you, but I will be showing eventually a YouTube video on how to find all these things and how to find the description box so you can link directly to the products. I appreciate you so much, and hopefully you've learned something or been entertained at least. And I hope to see you next time. I'll be putting out another Christmas tutorial soon. Thanks so much. Bye.